It started with tire tracks on my private road, carved fresh across the gravel, before the coffee even finished brewing. Not mine, not a neighbor's, and definitely not random. A white SUV with Sierra Mesa Estates Community Safety Patrol on the door kept drifting up to my gate like it owned the place, idling, easing away, coming back at odd hours, as if trying the lock on a house that isn't theirs. You know what I mean. My road is 1.7 miles of asphalt. I laid the slow way, paycheck by paycheck, posts sunk with my own hands, signs big enough to read at night. Private road, no trespassing, no turnaround, and still that SUV floated in and out like a smug ghost. One night, the camera at the lower gate caught two guys in windbreakers tailgating behind an Amazon van. No tools, no force, just sliding through on someone else's access. One, snapping photos. The other, cracking a tape measure and muttering non-compliant, like he was calling out a wardrobe malfunction. And I thought to myself, all right, I guess this is happening. I saved faces, timestamps, every frame that mattered, slid a flash drive in my pocket, and drove to town because quiet doesn't mean weak. And I've learned the hard way that bullies count on you doing nothing. Sheriff Morales watched the clip, did a slow blink, and said what I already knew in my bones. That's HOA, not law enforcement. Their line stops at their sign. Then asked for my statement and a copy for the file. I went home, posted a fresher set of signs, just to remove doubt, added a low camera no one could spot, unless they'd crawled under a fence or done time welding like I have, and waited. The envelope showed up zip tied to my gate. Thick cardstock. Embossed seal like a wedding invitation, and the letter read, like a hall monitor. Wrote a sermon, concerns about visibility and runoff, and access assessment in 30 days. Expect entry. Failure to cooperate will escalate. And I laughed that sharp laugh people make when someone tries to take your hat while you're still wearing it. I scanned and sent it to my lawyer, Dana Pierce. Small, steady, deadly with statutes. And 10 minutes later, she called with a voice like a clean blade. Jake, they're bluffing in the dark. Your road is a separate parcel, not in their overlay. I'll send a cease and desist and a notice of non-jurisdiction if they step inside your gate again. It's a police matter. I stapled her letter at the gate in a clear sleeve and figured even a raccoon could read it if it cared. Next morning, there's a tripod pointed at my fence from the HOA side, like I'm a wildlife exhibit. So I made a choice. No smashing, no screaming. I printed a big laminated sign that said, Engineering Survey, Joint Initiative County. And Sierra Mesa Do Not Disturb dropped 2 cones and an empty toolbox as bait, and buried a pressure sensor under the gravel, just inside the line. The silent kind that tattles to your phone the second a boot crosses over. They came back. Of course they did. One guy leaned to read the sign. The other stepped 1 foot inside the fence, like that made it polite, and my sensor pinged. 3 cameras saw everything. Faces, logos, the whole little parade. Then Earl called my hey guy, who's hauled longer than I've been shaving tight. Voice, Jake, I'm at the bottom too. HOA dudes blocked me with cones. Say I need a pass. They're taking photos of my plate, and that slow burn rose up my spine. The one that doesn't make you shake it, makes you steady. I rolled down body cam on hat low, and the scene looked like a school project on authority. Barricade SUV sideways, reflective vests. Clipboards like props. So I said what you say when you own the dirt you're standing on. Gentlemen, move the cones. This is private property, and that truck is a lawful delivery. Clipboard held up a hand like a stop sign and tried a line he'd clearly practiced temporary safety. Checkpoint, authorized traffic control during inspection windows. And I tilted my head and asked which part of this road is in your district. Yikes that. Long blink people do when they realize the script ran out. So I gave him a parcel map and pointed to the red light on the mast and said that, and then waved to the judge. Earl chuckled. The cones moved, and I posted the video on my documentation channel, then made it public because sometimes petty is a vitamin. And yeah, that happened fast. By dinner, it had numbers by morning. I had an email from the HOA demanding I appear at their clubhouse to explain my aggressive conduct toward uniformed patrol volunteers, and I spit coffee on the keyboard. Dana wrote back a sentence I wish came on a doormat. We do not attend your fantasy court. And that should have been the end of the theatrics. But folks who mistake control for community don't go quiet. They go bigger. Here's the twist that told me we'd crossed into stupid and illegal in the same breath. A gray sedan idling near my far gate. A man in a jacket that said, County Infrastructure. Inspection in. Iron on letters. No hologram on the badge boots. Too new. Hands too clean. Measuring wheel. Pacing my shoulder like he was mapping a crime scene. So I stepped out from the Oaks and whistled, asked if he was measuring for fun or following a complaint. And he fed me words like gradient and emergency access and runoff, so I called Morales on speaker and asked if he was sending anyone. And the sheriff chuckled. "Ope, you got an actor name on the badge." Logan Price, and the keyboard clacked on his end. "We have no Logan Price. Keep him there." And I looked at Logan and told him he might want to sit down. He ran plates, captured 3 angles of his face. Dana traced the registration to Bennett Crane, husband of Paula Crane, the HOA president, who loves a ribbon cutting. And if you're picturing me at the counter with popcorn, you're not wrong. The next day, Paula came herself pressed. My gate bell paced like she'd filed charges against the sky and expected God to answer. And 2 sheriff's cars rolled up slow because she'd called in an armed homeowner claim. And I met them halfway, hands visible. Calm voice rolled 6 angles of footage from my barn office. Paula's approach, Logan's costume party, Dana's cease and desist pinned right at the gate. And the deputies gave Paula a quiet ride to the station while her volunteers caught citations that made their ears burn. One of them shouted, "This isn't over." And he was right, just not the way he meant. Friday around lunch, I heard hammering, where hammering doesn't belong. The mouth of my road, and I drove down to find a canopy. Barricades HOA signage, a folding table with clipboards, and a handheld metal detector. Like a toy, 2 men. Acting deputized by Jesus. Paula smiling like she'd finally won, and she tried to hand me a laminated pass with my name misspelled. Told me access now required an HOA pass, and I hit record and read their sign aloud. Checkpoint 1 authorized vehicles only. Then told her she was trespassing and obstructing. And when she snapped, "Turn that camera off," I said no. You're on the record, and what she didn't know is that 2 hours earlier, I'd sent a packet to Morales, the county attorney, and a reporter at Channel 6. Deeds maps, letters, videos, the fake inspector, the cones, still shots with faces, the bait sign that caught them crossing. And when the cruisers and the unmarked sedan and the blue news van crested the hill in a quiet row, you could feel the air change. The county attorney's rep read charges like a grocery list. Unlawful obstruction, criminal trespass impersonation, abuse of authority without jurisdiction, The clipboards hit the dirt. The checkpoint folded like a cheap table, and Paula chose to go without resisting because the camera was rolling, and you can't outrun a lens. Court came quick. I wore clean boots because respect costs nothing. Paula in a navy suit that looked as stressed as she did. The judge had the posture of a woman who keeps her tools sharp. And when Paula's lawyer tried the words, "community protection," the judge raised a hand and said, "This is not a neighbor dispute. This is unlawful detainment. Trespass, impersonation, and an attempt to control private property continue if you dare." And he didn't dare for long. Donna laid out the evidence like parts on a clean cloth. Deed easement lines, letters, video the iron-on badge, blown up on a poster that made the back row cough to hide their laugh. And the verdict landed like a fence post. Sunk true, Paula got a year of probation and community service, and a 5-year ban from HOA office. The volunteers got fines and deferred charges. The HOA as an entity got civil penalties that made somebody on their board stop blinking. $275,000 for harassment and jurisdictional overreach. And when a reporter asked me how I felt, I looked at the sky between buildings and said I'd like to drive home. And this time, nobody stood in my lane. I set a new sign in concrete at the mouth of my road a week later. Steel powder-coated letters. You can read from a moving truck private road. No HOA patrol, no exceptions. Added floodlights because some folks pretend not to see at night. And life went back to what I like best, coffee before sunup chores. That makes sense, my dog sleeping in the doorway, while I check the camera feeds, not out of fear, but because stillness has become its own ceremony. Folks online said Jake for county commissioner. Others said I'd pay to watch Paula try that in West Texas. I didn't reply. I did laugh, and when Earl rumbled past, he tipped his cap. And asked if I was hiring security. I told him only if he came with a flamethrower, and we both laughed like free men. Here's the piece I want you to carry. If you've ever been the quiet one, people look past. Know your lines. The deed lines. The fence lines. The lines. You do not let a badge from a printer cross document everything. Call the real authorities. And when somebody dresses control up as safety, ask who gave them the costume. Now let's argue a little, because that's the world we live in. Some folks say communities only work when everyone cooperates, even if that means swallowing rules. You didn't vote on others. Say private means private. And once you let someone write the rules for your gate, they'll be writing them for your living room next. Where do you stand when a sign says rivet and a patrol says pass when safety becomes an excuse and authority is a sticker on a vest? Drop your take in the comments. Tell me if I went too far. Not far enough or exactly far enough, share the time. Somebody pushed past your line and what you did about it. And if this kind of plain talk hits home, like subscribe, ring the bell. I'll be on the porch, coffee in hand, keeping an eye on the road that leads home.